So what did Boris say he wanted to be when he grew up? World King.
But first, Boris for Prime Minister. On Friday night, Alexander Boris de Piffle Johnston. That's his name, Piffle. What Piffle? Or just plain Boris to you and me. Actually, his family call him Al, apparently. Just call me Al. Anyway, Al became Mayor of London. Over 1 million people put a cross next to his name, entrusting him with one of the world's biggest cities. Stop shaking your head, Stephen. But according to his biographer, Andrew Grimson, it's all part of bumbling Boris's plan to become Prime Minister. So would you elect Boris into number 10? Now, on one hand, you've got the gaffe-prone idiot who's insulted so many people, he once joked that he had a global itinerary of apology. Included on his list are anyone from Liverpool who he accused of wallowing in their victim status after Liverpudlian Ken Bigley was beheaded in Iraq, and black people everywhere after referring to them as pickaninnies with watermelon smiles. Yes, he did. On the other hand, I suspect many of the people who voted for Boris find his style of politics refreshing. Have become bored of political spin and politicians who never seem to answer questions. Could Boris's seemingly honest approach win him fans on a national level? Now, Boris admits that there will be the odd indiscretion. But, and his wife admits that too, but he seems to have put his old ways behind him. During his campaign for London Mayor, he's been focused, performed well under questioning and retained some of his charm. So could Boris ever run the country? Can you forgive his marital infidelity and ignore the fact that he's never run anything except a small political magazine? He himself once said he's got as much chance of becoming PM as he has of finding Elvis on Mars. But what do you reckon? Well, first of all, you guys are all Londoners, yeah. Did you all vote?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's the bad thing about this particular case, because the figures have shown that not enough people exercise their basic rights to vote.
Don't pick on poor Babita, because she decided not to. We'll get into that in a minute. Who voted for Ken and who voted for Boris? And
Ken.
Possibly
Boris.
Brian Paddock. Boris. OK. So, Lorena, why did you vote for Boris? And
yes, why?
And would
Look what's happened. We're going to be a laughing stock.
I'm running a parenting group, and it talks about how
Come on, Lorena, come on, don't fudge. Why did you vote for him?
Because I think we needed a change. I'm hoping that this man is going to be able to bring change to us. I think that...
A man who referred to black people as pickaninnies with
yes,
watermelon smiles. What kind of change are you looking for, Lorena?
Ken had the IRA on the steps of the GLC a number of years ago, didn't he?
Well, I mean, we now have a solution. We knew that the answer there was to talk, and we now have a solution to Northern Ireland. I mean, for goodness sake, a man who will say something like that. I mean, that's the politician that you want to lead your city?
It isn't, no, but perhaps he's, as you say, he's made... Do we know that he actually said that, or is that the press?
Listen, if you want a list of Boris gaffes, believe me, I have got a list here that would just make your eyes bleed.
I think that we need a change. I am hoping that this man is going to bring change, and I'm hoping that he's maybe he's recognised, as he says, that he's made some huge mistakes, and perhaps he can work. He's got a good team around him. He can't do this job on his own. If he's got a good team around him and he's prepared to work with the team, he can make it work.
So would you vote for him as PM?
No.
Why not? You'd have him as the Mayor of London, but not as the Prime Minister?
Because I don't think that he's got the gravitas to be able to do that.
And yet you let him run this city. That amazes me, that. But, Stephen?
I'm amazed as well. I can't believe I'm sitting here next to you. No, basically...
I mean, I can say this because I don't live in London, so I'm an onlooker here.
I live in London. London is probably the most cosmopolitan city in the world in terms of its racial mix and the diversity of people. And you want somebody who's going to represent everybody. And gaff or no gaff, thank you. Gaff or no gaff, to say something as offensive as that in this day and age, I find extraordinary. I will concede that he has changed. He's become very much more focused in his campaigning from the Boris that I knew when I did Have I Got News For You with him in the chair.
Oh, yes, you were sitting there, weren't you?
I was sitting there, I was on the panel, and he was just this buffoon, and people loved it. And if someone had told me, fast forward a couple of years, he'd be the Mayor of London, I would have said, no, I will eat my own face if that happened.
But, Stephen, I mean, you know, you obviously don't vote for him as a politician, but you did sit there in that situation and you saw him, and he was lauded for his performance on Have I Got News For You, which, after all, is an entertainment show and not running a big city or indeed a country. But what is the appeal of the man? As you sat there and watched him...
Well, that's what I mean. Back then, he was considered like a bit of a national joke, but a nice one. We could all go, oh, there's the bungling idiot. He'll say something odd in a few minutes. Ha, 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 ha. Now, we're seeing he's now running this big city. He's got state, and I think it's quite dangerous. And I admit that he's got some very, very good advisors who've told him, be quiet now, don't say anything now.
But that's what's very interesting. I mean, apparently, well, you know, and I've observed, as I say, from afar, but the campaign was kind of going nowhere or everywhere up until Christmas. And then they get in this guy called Linton Crosby from Australia, who is an absolute hard nut of a campaign manager. And he apparently got... Boris by the short and curlies and told him to shut his face, basically. And since then, it's all got on track. But now Linton's gone back to Australia, so what do we do now?
Yeah, but he listened, though, didn't he? He listened to what was being said, unlike Ken, who doesn't listen.
Well, listen, we've got calls, and obviously this is very much an open vote. And we've got... who have we got?
It's Shirley from Yorkshire on line 1. All
right, thank you. Shirley, what do you think? Would you vote for Boris as PM?
Yes, I would.
You would? Why, Shirley?
Because... it can't be any worse than what we've had.
No,
and it would be a refreshing change to have someone who actually does speak the truth. No lies, no sleaze, and just the people like him.
You're from Yorkshire, Shirley,
I am, yes.
Well, of course, Yorkshire people famous for telling it like it is, I suppose. But there's a difference, isn't there, between voting for somebody positively because you think they're the right man for the job or because you don't like the other lot. Where are you on that scale?
It's not a case of not liking either. It's a case of voting for someone who you can at least put your faith in that he will speak the truth. Because I'm absolutely fed up, and I'm sure a lot of people are, of being misled, which we have been over the last 11 years in lots of ways.
I love this current the thing about he's going to speak the truth.
The truth,
who told you that? How do you going to speak the truth?
Who told you he wouldn't?
Well, I'm going to guess that I'm not going to hear the truth. They're politicians. Let's not forget that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just looking at some of his truths here. We've got on gay marriages. Gay marriage can only ever be a ludicrous parody of the real thing. That's what he said in 2005. We've got various Piccaninny remarks. On obesity, he says it's nothing but their own fat fault, which you might think is the truth. On Iraq, the Americans were perfectly happy to go ahead and whack Saddam merely on the grounds that he was a bad guy in Iraq and the world would be better off without him. And so indeed was I. Now, you could say that was a truth, but you wouldn't say it's necessarily the man that you would want to run the country, would you, Shirley?
I don't think a lot of things people say, and they don't really mean them at the time. They just say them because they come out. But to me, Boris, let's give him a chance. You know, what do you need? What do you actually need? Qualifications to run a country? You tell me. What do you need?
Common sense.
Well, you know, thanks very much, Shirley. And obviously, you know, your view is valid as everybody else's. But I mean, that's interesting about the qualifications. He's about the same age as me, Boris. He spent most of his career as a journalist, doing a bit of presenting, and latterly he's gone into politics. I think I should run the country. You know, really. Yeah, thank you. You can be my deputy, but do you want another Scottish person in number 10? Possibly not, possibly not. Now, after the break, move the family or leave the job. If you or your partner were offered a job in another city or perhaps another country...